The story begins as we see our main protagonist, Memori Tuka, on a school trip riding along on a bus. Memori lives the most meaningless and isolating life than any other anime MC character to ever exist. He has a ton of mental issues and lacks self-esteem, making him a complete outcast to the rest of the students in the academy, even finding it hard just talking to people on a daily basis, and also finds it incredibly hard to stand up for himself. This is due to his traumatic past and childhood. One day he was simply eating his supper, and due to him taking so long to eat the food, his smelly fatso whale of a stepfather was furious that Memori was taking so long to eat, as his father can finish a whole plate in under a minute. Due to him being such a wimp, he began lashing out at him. Meanwhile, his stupid brain-rotted mother just watches the TV screen and takes no notice to the brutal nature of her lover as her son cries for help. After, Memori snaps back into reality, awoken by another student called Oyamata, a typical ugly annoying bully who thinks he's the Justin Timberlake of Japan. Oyamata was picking on a girl named Ayaka, the nerdy class president, because she loves reading romantic novels. He tells her how dumb she is and takes her books while calling her mean names. And Memori thinks about how not a single person on the bus said or did anything. While looking around to see who will stand up for Ayaka, we get introduced to several more characters, like the Takao twins. The blonde one is named Itsuki, and the brunette is named Hijiri. The pair also thought about helping Ayaka, but their words wouldn't mean much to the bully, so they ultimately back down. Another one is a cute and scared girl called Kashima Kabuto, and also the shy introverted outcast, similar to the MC, who is known as Yasutamo Hiro. Memori explains that they are on a school trip, and while this disgusting freak bullies the class president, no one cares. Not even the teacher, who clearly hates his job, or the popular elites who sit at the back. The only normal ones are the two Takao sisters, Yasu and Kabuto, as they all feel the same way after seeing this go down. Since Memori is known as the airhead boy, he's practically invisible to everyone, so he thinks about standing up to this guy. If he did, he would look cool for once, but is still overthinking about the outcome of being beaten by the bully and all his elite friends. Surprisingly, Memori actually stands up and confronts Oyamata, telling him to give back the novel and that he's the reason the bus smells like dog shit. After hearing this, Oyamata bursts out laughing, calling Memori the biggest airhead and that he would never listen to his worthless ass. However, in that moment, Ayaka thought of him as a king for standing up to the biggest bully in the school. After that, Oyamata was about to curb stomp our boy Memori, but instead, the Giga Chad alpha playboy of the school, named Kirihara Takyudo, tells his little subordinate Oyamata to stand down and to give the novel back, adding that he's acting like an immature beta, thus saving Memori from a brutal beatdown. Oyamata then asks why he's defending Memori, to which he tells him that he's not and that he only wants him to give the book back to the class president. He believes that they must respect her and not act like savages, adding that he could care less about what he does with Memori, but he better think about his own actions before taking them out on other people. After, Oyamata gives the book back and returns to his seat like a good boy, but because of Memori's actions, he began getting annoyed at his friend Yasu, kicking his chair, calling them a pair of airheads, and how shocking it was for Memori to stand up to him, ruining his trip, as someone like him was basically forbidden to getting involved in elite's business. After hearing this, Memori actually agreed and doesn't know why he was so confident in that moment, but he thinks it has something to do with the dream he had about his head father. However, just in that moment, a strange sound swiftly passes by the bus as their reality completely gets interrupted by some other worldly force, and the whole class are suddenly isekai'd into another world. At that moment, they are immediately greeted by a goddess with two giant juicy jugs who welcomes the students to her world, which is called the Kingdom of Alien. Everyone is pretty confused, and the students ask the juicy goddess where the hell they are. She explains that they were summoned here as they're all pretty much contestants, competing to see which one of them will be the heroes of Alien. However, some of them may end up getting consumed by the demon energy which plagues this world. Just recently, the great evil known as the Demon Empire has been reborn, and whenever this happens, they summon different gifted beings to help save and protect their world from these demonic energies and the demon army. Around 200 years ago, they summoned heroes which defeated this great evil threat. But after such a long time, they have resurfaced and are almost here once again, which is why the goddess Vices summoned them to this world. All the students start panicking, thinking they must be in a dream, and request to be taken back home, raging at the goddess. After some back and forth between the humans and goddess, the class president Ayaka asks how they're going to be able to help save the Alien Empire if they are just regular humans. But this is when Vices explains that they are not regular humans anymore, as they all have their own individual powers once they are awakened. In order to frighten some students and prove to them that they are indeed in another world, the goddess orders a soldier to bring forth the beast, and to show her power, she destroys it in a single strike. After this, the students are introduced to a crystal that reveals their powers. One by one, they place their hands on it, and the crystal glows in different colors indicating their power levels. When it's Oyamada's turn, the crystal glows red, which is a rare color. And when Kirihara's turn comes, the crystal bursts indicating S-class powers. Similarly, Ayaka's touch also breaks the crystal, confirming she is S-class too. Much to the goddess's delight, Itsuki and Hijiri are revealed to be S-class and A-class respectively. It's Memori's turn now, but when he touches the crystal it glows purple, prompting the goddess to coldly ignore him and call forth the next student, making him feel utterly useless. Although she is surprised to see another student's power, which reveals the most powerful type known as the Dark Hero. Later on, the students learn how to check their status and discover their physical abilities and unique skills. Poor ignored Memori finds out that he has a unique skill which only a few possess. After the evaluations, the goddess says only one final ritual remains. Suddenly, Memori is brought forward and is revealed to be an E-class, the lowest rank hero in the whole batch. She explains that low rank heroes can cause problems for strong heroes, so they have decided to handle them differently. And she gives him one last chance to prove himself in some abandoned ruins often used for the disposal of weak heroes. Despite having a unique skill, he falls into the failure frame category and is deemed worthless, and his status is so low he is told that he will never grow much, which makes him feel like garbage in this new world. Upon hearing this, Ayaka protests and accuses the goddess of bringing him to this world only to leave him to die, but the goddess punches her in the gut, which renders her unconscious. Kirihara interrupts and urges everyone to stop the nonsense, as the girls are tired. Telling Memori to go quickly and die, the other students also agree. Even the boy with the power of a dark hero, who once extended friendship to Memori, insults him and calls him a trash hero before walking away. A teleportation spell is cast, and it turns out that when the heroes arrive in the other world, they each receive a unique item. When Memori touches his bag, the crystal on it glows and he uses his paralysis spell, which has no effect on the goddess due to her protective barrier. Consequently, she mocks him and calls him a loser hero. Meanwhile, Kirihara deliberately uses his magic to create a blast, and the other students are amused by Memori's helpless state. Faking pity, the goddess then asks Memori if he has any last wish. With tears in his eyes, he recalls his childhood, when his conscience told him to accept his reality and show his true self. Tired of the bullying, Memori openly declares that if he survives the ruins, he will kill the goddess, and afterward, he is sent to the abandoned ruins. Using his magic, he lights up his unique item, which reveals his surroundings. However, something feels wrong, and soon a strange monster begins to chase him. Nervous and crying out of fear, he falls as the monster approaches. However, despite expecting death, he realizes that the feeling he is experiencing is frustration rather than fear. Recalling the goddess's words that his powers wouldn't work on others, he tries his paralysis magic on the monster, and to his surprise, it works and allows him to escape. He runs far away, but soon another monster shows up, and still scared, he uses his paralysis magic, which works once again. Realizing his powers are effective, he checks his status and sees he has only one magic power left. Using his poison magic, he kills the monster. However, another appears behind him. Exhausted and thinking he is doomed, he remembers the goddess's cruel wish for his terrible death and his classmates' laughter. Reflecting on his childhood, he acknowledges he is not a hero but a side character with no one to help him. Determined to survive, he resolves to fight to the death, trusting only himself and smiling grimly at his fate. Memori has used his magic power many times and it's been exhausted completely. He badly injured a bird monster with his paralysis and poison skills, but now a minotaur monster stands before him. Lacking strength, he tries to paralyze the minotaur again, only to realize he cannot use the same skill repeatedly on the same target. Therefore, he uses another skill, sleep, to put the monster to sleep. However, many bird monsters start approaching, and Memori gets scared. Using his natural magic power that draws energy from his body, Memori paralyzes them all and gets exhausted, but a new wave of many monsters shows up. Despite his dwindling power, he paralyzes them again, and as his energy falls down and the monsters come closer, Memori refuses to give up. His determination causes him to level up and restores his magic power, so he paralyzes all the monsters and realizes that the bird monster he poisoned earlier has died. He understands that to increase his power, he he needs more experience, meaning he must kill more monsters. With his leveled up skills, Memori can now hit multiple targets at once, but still, he cannot use the same skill twice on a single target. He poisons the paralyzed monsters, leveling up his poison skill, and the more he uses a skill, the more it levels up. Happy with his progress and the experience points he's gaining, Memori checks his status, which has improved significantly along with his magic power. As the poison monsters die, he gains more experience points and uses his sleep skill on the remaining monsters, leveling it up to 2, but the surviving monsters flee. After the intense battle, Memori feels hungry, so he searches for a way out of the ruins, and while coming across the dead bird monsters, he tries to cut them with a large dagger he found on the dead person. However, the monsters are mostly bones. Desperate, he attempts to eat the bird monster's eye but accidentally cuts himself with the dagger. Memori spits out the bird monster's eye because its body is made of acid, and as he grows hungrier, the crystal on his bag turns purple. He starts charging it with his magic power but feels it become heavy, and when he opens the bag, he finds some food items inside. Delighted, Memori begins eating, but he wonders where the food came from and concludes perhaps the bag, being a unique item, can produce food itself. Days pass like this, and Memori begins to question his actions, feeling they are inhumane. He remembers his childhood, when his kind aunt took care of him and taught him kindness. Memori wanted to be like her, but now he feels that may no longer be possible, and accepting his fate, he prays for the dead and moves forward. Eventually, Memori encounters a strange monster that can use magic, but he easily kills it with his paralysis and poison skills. As he explores further, he finds a bag that might be useful in the future, so he takes it with him. Reaching the 25th room, he finds the door slow to open, and when it finally does, he sees another dead person and finds a letter from them. The letter reveals the writer's old name, Anglin, the hero of darkness, and mentions that the goddess Vicious sent him to these ruins because she no longer needed him. The letter urges the reader to defeat the monster within the ruins, and Memori finds a book called Forbidden Arts Complete Works and a forbidden magic scroll. Written in blood, Anglin warns about a creature called the Soul Eater, which has killed everyone else. Therefore, Memori proceeds cautiously and finds a door that requires something to be placed in it to open. He reflects that if even a dark hero couldn't defeat the Soul Eater, it must be incredibly powerful, and wonders if he will be able to defeat it with his skills. Soon, he encounters the Soul Eater, which has a gemstone on its forehead, and when he tries to attack it, his hand gets injured. While bandaging his hand, knowing it once defeated the most powerful dark hero, he realizes how dangerous this monster is. The Soul Eater rules these ruins, and suddenly, liquid pours out, revealing strange people, the resurrected victims of the Soul Eater, while the monster revels in the suffering it causes. When Memori tries to paralyze these creatures, he finds he can't use poison on them since they are already dead. He struggles with the morality of using his power against these once human beings, and the Soul Eater, finding joy in his distress, mocks him. Memori, however, resolves to fight and paralyzes the Soul Eater and uses poison on it. The monster's body begins to break down, and despite Memori's fear and reluctance, he pushes forward as his skills level up in the process. The dead humans dissolve back into liquid as Memori's poison takes effect, while the Soul Eater, underestimating Memori, begins to die slowly, and noting its shame at being defeated by someone considered weak, he taunts it. As the Soul Eater dies, the souls it consumed are released and return briefly to their human forms before disappearing. Memori retrieves the gemstone from the monster's forehead, and determined to defeat the goddess Vicious, he places the gemstone in a door, which opens and allows him to step out to begin his new journey. In the forest, Kirihara kills a beast and reaches level 18. Meanwhile, Yasu is thrilled after defeating monsters with his dark power. On the other hand, a scared girl named Kashima is approached by Asagi, who remarks that she is very cute and that's why wants to share something important. Mentioning that she herself is a B class, Asagi explains that their class will eventually be divided due to the many egotistical people and the rank divisions from E to S class. She expresses her desire for Kashima to join her group when the class splits, considering Kashima is a D class and unlikely to join Kirihara's group, and the Takao sisters prefer to stay alone. When Kashima asks what she means, Asagi responds that Kashima will understand later but should focus on staying alive for now. She points out that if they defeat the Great Demon Empire, they will return to their world, but until then, Kashima needs to survive. Asagi then begins to press Kashima's chest, suggesting she might be into girls, and adds that if Kashima joins her group, she will take great care of her. Asagi calls some girls who have captured a monster together, and the class is completing a task given by the goddess. But Kashima hasn't killed any monster yet. Asagi tells her that their group will grow stronger together, so she needs to kill this monster, or she might end up like the previous one. Gathering her courage, Kashima kills the monster, and Asagi declares that from then on, she is one of them, and then leaves. Kashima sits and cries, remembering how Memori helped an injured cat, promising not to leave it alone. She sobs and feels guilty for not being able to do anything at that time. Meanwhile, Ayaka, still feeling the pain from the goddess's punch, regains consciousness. She approaches the goddess, who is crying, and expresses her sadness about what happened with Memori. However, the goddess explains that it is the policy of their kingdom of Alien, and they can't mourn Memori's departure because the ritual is still ongoing. She mentions that while Ayaka is unconscious, the others are sent for a test to see if they can face the monsters, and many children cannot, which leads to their removal from their positions as heroes. Ayaka says that removing the weak is cruel, to which the goddess confirms that it is the policy of their kingdom. Ayaka then states clearly that she is completely against the way the goddess handles these matters, but the goddess laughs and responds that decisions should not be made emotionally. Sometimes, people must be sacrificed. Ayaka, asserting her status as an S-class hero, offers to work hard on behalf of all the students who fail the tests, and asks the goddess to stop punishing the weak. The goddess, amused by Ayaka's courage, apologizes for punching her, explaining it was necessary, and expressing high expectations for Ayaka, he shakes hands with her. The scene shifts to a dark forest where a girl is running away from pursuers, leaving tracks that lead them to her. The pursuers are 4 people named Maggot, Ashura, Jiabe, and Zerash, who belong to a group called the White Walkers and are intent on killing her. Meanwhile, Memori emerges from the ancient ruins of Disposal, checks his status, and discovers that he can control his paralysis and poison skills, including which part of the body he can paralyze. As he moves forward, he hears noises from the bushes and finds a small slime being bullied by larger slimes. Observing the small slime bravely fight back, Memori paralyzes and poisons the 4 big slimes before removing the effects from them. He reassures the small slime that he won't kill it and apologizes for not helping sooner, praising its courage. After removing the paralysis, Memori starts to leave, wishing the slime a good life. However, the small slime stops him, and Memori realizes that, like him, the slime has been left alone. Meanwhile, the girl being pursued by the White Walkers continues running, exhausted but aware that they are still on her trail. Their hunting method is to tire out their prey before killing it. On the other hand, Memori, having made friends with the small slime he named Pigamaru, reads a dark hero's book of forbidden arts and discovers an art that can empower monsters. Memori, on a journey of revenge, asks Pigamaru if it will join him, and the slime changes color to signal its agreement. As the White Walkers close in on the girl, she stops running, draws her sword, and invokes the spirits of Willowska, offering her sleep in exchange for their help. She begins a dance with enchantments, causing armor to form on her body. However, it is revealed that the person surrounded by the White Walkers is actually Memori. They initially decide to let him live, but Maggot insists on killing him. Zerash notes that the girl's stamina must be depleted, and Ashura expresses his perverse interest in her. As the group discusses their plans, Memori tries to leave, but Maggot stops him and declares that he must die. The frightened Memori pleads for his life, but Maggot is unmoved and prepares to kill him. However, in a swift move, Memori kills him, leaving everyone frozen in their tracks. Memori then comments that Maggot is not as dangerous as any monster in the jungle, and, still fueled by anger, decides he won't feel remorse over their deaths. He poisons all of them, leading to their demise. After ensuring the 4 are dead, Memori senses that someone else is nearby. On the other hand, the girl notices that the presence of the White Walkers is no longer around her, but she senses someone else nearby whose presence is both powerful and dangerous, causing even the spirits of the jungle to be filled with fear. Suddenly, Memori appears behind the girl and paralyzes her. He explains that while he felt she was going to attack, he also sensed something strange, so he suggests resolving the matter through conversation. The girl, struggling to speak, asks what he wants, and Memori, realizing she is unable to speak properly, removes the paralysis from her mouth, but warns her that any attempt to attack will not end well for her. As the girl regains her ability to speak, Memori tells her that he cannot trust her easily due to his past experiences. The girl then asks if Memori encountered a group of 4 men, which Memori confirms that he did and reveals that he killed them all. Shocked, the girl asks if he finished off the White Walkers and if anyone helped him. Nemori replies affirmatively but refuses to talk about details about his helper. The girl, sensing no deception in his words, decides to trust him and agrees to answer his questions as a token of gratitude for saving her life. Nemori acknowledges that the girl doesn't seem like a bad person but emphasizes that it is better for both of them to know as little about each other as possible. Nemori shows her an ancient scripture that she is unable to read but knows someone who can, the Witch of Taboos, known for her forbidden knowledge, who was exiled from her homeland for never sharing this knowledge. When Nemori asks where to find her, the girl directs him to the land of golden-eyed monsters. Thanking the girl for the information, Nemori declares their accounts settled, as he saved her life, and she answered his questions. He suggests they part ways but expresses hope for her safe journey. Nemori is cautious that the girl might still attack him, so he instructs Pigamaru to keep an eye out, and with Pigamaru signaling its understanding, he continues on his journey. Nemori visits Mill City to gain more experience and changes his name to an alias so that he can secure a room. While exploring the city in the evening, he notices that people don't stare at strangers, the place is quiet, and there are many different types of shops. He goes to a restaurant to eat and thinks about how he likes banquets because people get drunk and talk loudly, which makes it easy to gather information. He overhears a discussion about who is the strongest among the knights, and someone mentions the Black Dragon Knights, who burned the Holy Kingdom Nia, and that just 5 of their Dragon Knights are equal to an entire nation's army. He also reveals that the strongest human and hero killer is among them. Later on, Nemori goes back to his room and plans his next steps. First, he needs to find someone who can read the Book of Forbidden Spells. That means he has to go to the Golden Demon Zone and meet the Forbidden Witch. Second, he needs to make a strength-increasing potion for Pigamaru, which requires the bone of the Skeleton King found in Mills's ruins. The next day, a man named Creed Harkley announces a new lair has been found in the ruins of Millis. He offers 300 gold coins for the Dragon Eye Cup and good prices for anything else found there. Nemori realizes he can keep the Skeleton King's bone for himself and registers for the mission. During registration, someone notices a person covering their face and recognizes them as Sira's Ashrain, a wanted figure. The man tries to prove it by checking her ears, as elves have distinct ears, but is surprised to find that they are not like an elf's. Nemori recognizes her as the girl he met in the forest. The man, embarrassed, leaves after Sira's introduces herself as Miss Barkus. Later, Nemori prepares to go to the ruins and meets Sira's. She warns him to be careful, as the person she encountered seemed very angry. They decide to avoid any social interactions and exchange fake names, knowing they're not sharing their real identities. Nemori gives Sira's 3 silver coins for her help, and she gratefully accepts them. Suddenly, Sira's begins to faint and Nemori catches her. When he asks why, she admits she hasn't slept for a long time but assures him not to worry, and leaves. Later on, Nemori goes to the ruins and easily kills a monster because his skills, paralysis, and poison work well here. People return with a companion, shocked to see the monster dead and unable to believe it. Nemori moves on, thinking the demons aren't very dangerous, so he's gaining less experience. He overhears people plotting to kill Sira's, angry that she mocked them. Nemori confronts them, and when they attack, he paralyzes and poisons them. As they die, he reflects on his dark side and realizes that now, he finds relief in killing such trash people. He then encounters a group of adventurers who tell him the demons are dying strangely. One adventurer says she is worried about her people and decides to leave. However, Nemori decides to stay because fewer people will come as news spreads, which suits his needs. Soon, he finds the Dragon's Eye Cup and a statue which he suspects will come alive, so he poisons the statue beforehand and kills the dragon. Suddenly, Sira's arrives, and she is surprised to see Nemori got there first. Much to her surprise, Nemori gives her the cup and says it's useless to him. Sira's offers something in return, but Nemori declines, saying he's here to meet the demon below. Sira's wishes to join him to show her gratitude, so she offers her sword, and they agree to Memori's conditions of not asking personal questions and taking care of herself. Inside, Sira's cuts a mast in half, which impresses Nemori. They talk about golden eye demons and how heroes from other worlds kill them for experience points, unlike normal demons who can form good relations with humans. Nemori realizes that golden eye demons resemble the golden hero, and he finds it quite troublesome. They go to rest, and Sira senses a demon outside. Nemori makes Sira's friend, Pigamaru, and asks Sira to rest. As she lies down, Nemori uses his power to make her sleep because he suspects she's the former knight leader of the Holy Kingdom Nia, Sira's Ashrain. Meanwhile, he had used his skill to make her sleep earlier and assures her that traveling with her identity hidden will be safer. He emphasizes that she is important to him and that he will not reveal her secret. Ceres explains that her power has concealed her true form, which had been seen by White Walkers. With those threats now eliminated, her journey will be easier, and she expresses gratitude to Memori for his help. Ceres decides to return to her real form, and Memori asks if this means she has faith in him. Ceres confirms that she has full faith in Memori, so Memori then reveals his real name, Tauka Memori, and suggests they keep each other's names a secret. Ceres agrees and accepts Memori's proposal to escort him to the Golden Demon Zone. Memori hands over the payment, a blue dragon stone. Ceres explains that the blue dragon stone is extremely rare, produced only by the legendary blue-eyed dragon, and is not even circulated in the market. Its value is much higher than that of the Cup of Dragon Eye. However, despite this, Memori insists that Ceres accept it as payment. Although Ceres initially refuses, considering the stone's importance, Memori insists that if she doesn't want it, she can throw it away, so Ceres eventually accepts the blue dragon stone. The next day, during breakfast, some people comment on Ceres, but Memori advises Ceres to ignore the comments and asks about the forbidden spells. Ceres explains that these are the same spells forbidden by Goddess Vicious, suggesting that they might be dangerous to the gods, which is why they are banned. Memori acknowledges that this information is sufficient. Later, Ceres leaves to collect her reward, and Memori heads to the forest to use the strength-increasing potion on Pigamaru. Meanwhile, the local king has summoned a magician to check the purity of the Dragon Eye Cup, which worries Ceres. Memori waits for Ceres, who does not return at the expected time. In a different scene, the goddess acknowledges Sagu's encounter with the Skeleton Knights and notes the difficulties she faced in fighting them. Sagu asks about Sakura, and the goddess reassures her that Sakura's hand has been healed using her skill, as Sakura is a brave anchor. The goddess then inquires if Sagu plans to join Kirihara's group, and Sagu declines, believing that staying together with them is not feasible. The goddess warns Sagu that her selfishness could cause problems for her friends, and despite the warning, Sagu remains firm in her decision not to join the group. The goddess questions whether Sagu will maintain her stance even if the world is in danger, and Sagu affirms her commitment to protecting the world as an S-rank hero. The goddess then assigns her the task of training those who haven't passed the trials because she believes that an S-rank hero's guidance will help them become powerful quickly. Sagu reminds the goddess of their prior agreement that she would fight in the place of the trainees. However, the goddess reveals the king's orders to kill those who cannot fight. Sagu accepts the training task because she knows that refusal would mean the death of the trainees. The goddess warns Sagu that any trainee could create problems for her, and Sagu leaves to begin her training duties. Memori continues waiting for Ceres and starts doubting his judgment about her character, fearing she might be in trouble. He asks Pigamaru for his opinion, and based on his response, Memori decides to search for Ceres. They find that Ceres' true identity has been exposed, and she has fled into the dark forest. Memori and others notice the Black Dragon Knights arriving to capture Ceres. They find her fighting off dragons and using her power to defeat them. Due to the confusion caused by the broken illusion and the light spirit, Ceres is unable to transform and contemplates the threat posed by higher-ranked members. Ceres encounters a dragon and realizes that the real problem is another person present. She identifies this person as Gizon, one of the 5 dragon knights trained by Master Oben, and they begin to fight. Gizon declares that Ceres Ashrain will die here, and Ceres starts to fight back, but she realizes that she is unable to use the spirits of Willowska. She is surprised that Gizon, whom she initially thought was sent to capture her, now intends to kill her, and he reveals that they have received orders from someone else to kill her. Ceres becomes desperate to save her life and tries to summon the spirits of Willowska to defend herself, but nothing happens. Fueled by the power of lust, Gizon throws her down, disarms her, and grabs her. At this moment, Memori arrives and paralyzes both Gizon and the dragon. He then poisons the dragon and puts Gizon to sleep, and Ceres asks him what he is doing there. Memori explains that he came in search of her because she was late. Ceres apologizes and explains that if she comes with her, they will also be pursued by enemies. She offers to return the payment of the blue dragon stones, but Memori gives Ceres, acknowledging the trouble and recognizing that Ceres is irreplaceable as an escort. Despite Ceres' initial refusal, Memori insists that she keep the blue dragon stones and orders her to undress, and this brings the anime to an end. Comment for part 2, and don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss out on any more of my recaps. Until next time, take care.